As we all see on the slide, there are pictures of very well-known women. There are Miss Indias, Miss World, there are beauty queens and Bollywood actresses. There are women who have carved a niche for themselves. Can anyone tell me what's common amongst all of them? Besides, of course, being in the limelight, what's the common thread here? Of course, exactly. They are all daughters of armed forces officers. And I'm very proud to say that I belong to the same family. Born to an army dad. Amongst these pictures are role models that I grew up to. And many would have thought that I would have been inspired and I would follow their footsteps. But I think my bigger inspiration was my father. And I chose a different path. Seeing my father's uniform, his colleagues' chivalry, the whole atmosphere of the cantonment, the whole focus on putting country before self is what inspired me to don the uniform myself. Of course, very purposefully, I chose to join the Air Force rather than the Army because while I did want to follow his footsteps, I wanted to carve a place for my own. I did not want any privileges to be meted out to me because of my background. So it was in the year 2000, in July, that I entered the Air Force Academy in Dundigal. I thought I had an edge over my counterparts because I thought I knew the armed forces life and I thought I had a wider perspective because there was constant relocation. I also thought I knew the kind of difficulty level of training that I was getting into. But I think nothing prepares you for ground reality. In the academy, they're training you for live combat. They're training you to take on contingencies at any time. And in doing so, in wanting to do so, the instructors are putting constant pressure on you 24/7. A time to break you down, to rebuild you. And this would flow into the official curriculum, which would start from the morning till the evening, including PT, parades, and the official classes. And it would continue to the unofficial part, which would start in the evening. And if I may say so, the ragda and the ragging sessions by our seniors. And that could be anything. That could be as simple as impositions, or they could be as simple as chin-ups and sprints and rolling and side rolling and front rolling and back rolling and things that didn't even have names. So washing clothes at 3 a.m., not getting any time to sleep, no time to rest, having only two words as yes sir and no sir as acceptable. I slowly started thinking, and that slowly was only in the next 2-3 days, that I don't think I can do it. My parents came to visit in the first week, and I got a 10-minute slot for an interaction with them. Seeing me all staggered and haggard and so many shades darker in just a few days, it completely unnerved my parents. And the first reaction of a worried mother was, "Are you okay? Can you handle it?" And I wanted to tell her right away, "Take me back. Take me back right away." So I knew that if I had to quit, I had to quit right now or go through the whole course. While I was fighting this dilemma and while I was going through these demons and questions in my mind, that can I do this? Am I up to this? This is what I want? Is this what I thought of it? I suddenly realized I was the 17th course. There were 16 courses before me. There were women who were part of these hallowed portals and who had gone through the same thing and succeeded. So these were those women, and they were my peers who were going through the same. So had I put in my best? Had I pushed myself enough? Was I ready to give up my childhood dream so soon? I think we do not know how capable we are until we learn to push ourselves beyond the boundaries we have created for ourselves. We do not know how strong we are till being strong is the only option. And I told my parents I wanted time. I hadn't put it my good enough. I hadn't put it all. And I turned back and there wasn't any looking back and I passed the training with flying colors. I think sometimes you need to have confidence in the plans life has for you. So when you join the Air Force, everybody assumes that, oh, you must be flying. Obviously, Air Force, flying, that's what it is. But that's not true. For every one pilot and for every sortie that goes in the air, there would be 40 people on the ground who would be making that airworthy. These would be people of the technical branch, the administration branch, the education, the medical, meteorology, and I got commissioned in the administration branch. But the aspiration to fly was always there. So it was in October 2008 that I got an opportunity and grabbed it to fly, not inside an aircraft, but fly all alone. And I chose to be a skydiver. How I started skydiving and parajumping was in classrooms and in books and in open field where we were physically toughened and we were told to do sector flying with a presumptuous parachute with us. And then the first jump, you're taken about 4,500 feet up in the air and you're told to jump. Off the edge of the aircraft, jump. And the first step that you're supposed to do is look up and check if your parachute is open. It should open, right? That's what the instructors have told us, that it should open. But then at the backpack, I also have a reserve parachute. What is that for then? If my main parachute should open, I shouldn't have a reserve, right? So there is a purpose for the reserve, and there might be a requirement for the reserve. But all the time you're hoping that this purpose is never met. So the first stage is still easy. It's static line when you go through, and the safety catch of your parachute is attached to the aircraft with a rope. And the moment you jump out of the aircraft, it triggers that safety catch, and your parachute automatically opens and gets deployed in 5 seconds. The second stage comes when you want to learn how to free fall. And you have to jump off the aircraft. I mean, at a height starting from 6,000 feet, at least. And you have to open the parachute yourself, looking at that altimeter on your hand at a specific height. Now imagine yourself jumping out of that aircraft and so many things are happening and all you can think of, either my parachute will open, I hope I'm going to jump properly so that I don't hit somewhere, and I have to maintain proper body position because the slightest wrong movement will put me into a swirl, and then you're falling at 200 kilometers per hour speed and you have to look at your altimeter and check your altitude. And there are so many times, and it doesn't happen that that's the way I check my watch. There is a specific drill to do it. When your one hand moves, the other hand has to move the other direction. So many times it happens you're checking the altimeter, but by the time you take it back, you've not seen what the needle was figuring out, what the altitude was. And so you got to do that again and you lose so many more seconds. So let me tell you, I was scared. I was scared to jump and free fall. The mere drop at the edge of the aircraft just scared me. But I wanted to jump. So I thought, why not take a little assistance? And I asked my instructor, I want to start jumping backwards so that I don't have to look at the drop, look at the small houses and look at the small jungle from so far up in the sky. Let me jump backwards. And I would tell him, keep telling me to go back. And the moment I would feel my feet half, the edge of my feet, off the aircraft, I would jump. It was only that when I started jumping with paratroopers and the mere quantum of people in the aircraft, and all of them have to be dropped within a specific zone, is that you don't have time for this, no time for making your position, and you just have to fall with them. That is when I learned to actually start jumping up front. And things progressed and rapidly progressed from starting from 5,000 feet to 8,000 feet to 10,000 feet to 15,000 feet to 20,000 feet. When I started really enjoying that a 2 minute of free fall in the air, falling at a speed of 200 km per hour, but you don't have any relative to kind of feel that speed. And only when you fall in the clouds and you feel them zoop past you, you realize what kind of speed are you falling at. I was lucky and I became part of the women's skydiving team and we presented in a world championship. And I think this milestone in my life taught me how to look at life in the eye. It taught me that you are prepared for any kind of challenges. Going forward, but I think the milestone in my life, which was much bigger and larger than this, was the Guard of Honor. So before I tell you about the Guard of Honor, I had the privilege to command. Let me tell you what the Guard of Honor is all about. So it's a very old tradition wherein one king, while visiting the kingdom of another, so the host king would display his finest guards as a display of his strength and capability to the visiting king. And the visiting king, in display of his trust, would leave behind his own guards and would be taken by the finest guard of the host country who would let him inspect the lineup. So one fine day is I get a call from the ceremonials department and they told me that they're considering having a woman officer do a Guard of Honor. And would you be interested? Of course I was interested. I was totally excited about it. Yes. But it's only when you start rehearsal, I saw, oh, I'm not the only one selected. The other people too. So there is a competition. Of course, it's a healthy competition, and it wasn't a competition within the services only. It was within the Air Force, I mean. It was also a competition between the forces. Because even the Army and the Navy wanted to put the best of their guards because it was a very important visit. It was the visit of the President of the United States, then Mr. Barack Obama. Everybody wanted to try and put their finest guards there. It was only on the penultimate day that the best of the person was selected amongst everyone. And that is when I realized the importance of the occasion. I realized I wasn't standing there representing myself. I wasn't standing there representing the Air Force or the armed forces. I was standing there representing the country and I was standing there representing the women force. Because after so many years of independence, there was an opportunity for a woman to command a tri-services Guard of Honor. And no mistake was possible. It's very easy when you walk on a path. It's very easy to think that, okay, you just have to march along in a path. But how many times would you have stumbled on a very smooth road? Or how many times during a discussion or a talk your voice would have croaked, right? Can happen anytime. It couldn't happen here. The single mistake, the slightest of stumble, the smallest of fumble, would have not only, I would not have been letting only myself down. I would have let the whole women's services, not only in the services, but outside down. I would be known as the girl who messed up. And I would be pointed out for people to say, oh, this is what happens when you put a woman to do a man's job. So the whole greater responsibility of it made me so nervous. I was on the edge of my nerves. And all I could do is put those demons aside because I had so many rehearsals and so many people coming to watch and to be assured that yes, we are putting our best in front. With each nod I got, with each approval that I got, is how I regained the confidence in myself once again. And the last day, well, I think whenever you're faced with any kind of challenge and you want to put your best forward, the only thing that takes you through is practice. However cliche it might be, but practice, practice, and practice. And practice so much that it becomes muscle memory. It becomes muscle memory and you don't think and you act accordingly to that muscle memory. And that's how the last day happened. Everything like an auto setting. I don't think I could think anything, but the muscle memory took over on each movement and each command. The only time I could think was after the event finished and I found myself between media frenzy. And of course, I was a symbol of women empowerment then. People appreciate you, people talk about you doing a fine job. But I think out of all the accolades that I would have received, the ones which really make a difference were two, from my mother and my daughter. The pride you feel in your mother's eyes and the awe you see in your daughters. When they speak to their friends and their neighbors and say, "This is my daughter, this is my mother," is something which is incomparable. That is when you feel that you are really proud on what you might have achieved. And I might have not been on the first slide of Miss India's, but I did not feel any less. Standing there, standing there in front of the whole country, representing its strength, behind millions of people, the strength of the country, the armed forces, I felt no lesser than a Miss India. I think everyone likes to be a Miss and Mr. India. But I think it doesn't have to be a beauty pageant. It is you who defines your Miss India and Mr. India and nobody else. And each one of us has the capability to feel like a Miss and a Mr. India. We have the capabilities to hold on to our dreams, to pursue them, to push and to focus, and to feel no lesser than a king and queen in our world with the people who matter to us.